And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Culp. I'm your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Hope you're having a good day. Want to thank Adam Sarhan for doing the show yesterday. Out of nowhere, things came up, and he was right there, ready to help out, as always. We thank him very, very much. And, you know, we do know we're a little bit different. Adam will come on here and do markets and lessons. We'll do everything that we think is necessary outside of the markets, the economy, and just things that happen out there that we think matter to our future, your kids' future. And we're going to bring that up in 1 minute, something that happened and the reaction to it happening. Wonder if you're already guessing. But first, this is serious talk on everything that affects you. We'll do the markets, the economy, your job, your industry, whatever necessary. And if you do not get this radio show in your city, we will post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our X feed. Also the YouTube channel of Biz TV. And if you'd like to email us, GaryK.com. We just ask you be nice, because we're always going to be nice back, unless you like Hamas. So I don't want to start with the markets today. As you know, I really do believe there are so many moving parts in this country that matter to our future. And you know the things we've brought up 100 times. My disappointment in all our leaders, in the debt and the deficits and just the BS and the spewing of lies, the protection of themselves. I can go on and on and on. But one of the things we have talked about here, and if you don't think it matters, you see, we don't want crime to matter only when it hits home. My wife, before I even met her, was carjacked in South Miami, driven to a remote wooded area. She thought she was dead. They let her go. She got lucky. My wife, in Boca Raton, Florida, in the middle of the day, unbeknownst to her, was being watched in a drugstore in Boca Raton with my young son, Aaron, when I think he was 3 or 4 years old. And she got back in her car, and he jumped her, put a gun to her head, "Give me your watch." And she was lucky. She gave him the watch, and he was gone. We only found out afterwards that there was a group of thugs in Boca Raton that did it quite the few times, and they kept it on the down low. You know what the down low means, right? And throughout the years, I've been worried. And we've talked about it. We've talked about how we're worried that crime pays. How is it cities can come up with, you can shoplift up to $949 and you'll be fine, $950 you're in trouble, to the point where the shoplifters would go in with a calculator and add up the things they would steal. To the point where in New York City everything's locked up. Toothbrushes are locked up. We are also finding out in many a city, people arrested 20, 30 times for violent offenses and just let out like nothing happened. Think about that. Let me be a little bit on the graphic side. Imagine if it was you and somebody beat the crap out of you, mugged you in the street, took your belongings, punched you in the face, broke your orbital bone in your eye. Months to get better. And they would just let out cashless bail. Do you know why the Charles Bronson movie sold so well, Death Wish? Because people sick and tired of crime paying. Because I don't know if you've read, but Irina Zarutska, a Ukrainian refugee that was living in a bomb shelter in Ukraine, came here for a better life, working at a pizza shop, relatives here also, got on one of these buses in North Carolina, and a violent felon who was let out on cashless bail was sitting behind her, took out a knife, and carved her up and murdered her. A beautiful young woman, his past crimes paid. And by the way, they weren't shoplifting crimes, they were violent crimes. She's dead. And we find out it happened on the 22nd, and we also find out that it was kinda, sorta, no mention until the video came out. And then the video comes out, and then we get the reactions. You know what the reactions are of the media? None. None. It didn't fit their template. Because the media hates you. You suck. The media hates you. Only until people were up in arms did the media start covering it. And then you get a yutz like Brian Stelter comes out and get this. Doesn't talk about the murder. He talks about how the people on the right are using the murder because they're racist, because it was a black man that did it. I got news for you. I don't care if he was black, white, green, blue, yellow, a Martian from Mars. This is what we're dealing with. A moron that's on CNN, a journalist that has a bully pulpit that can do good things and talk about crime and what I'm talking about. Instead, he calls the right racist for bringing it up. And the rest of the media ducked it. I bet you if the person was wearing a MAGA hat that did this, they would have been having crap fits. So there's a double problem here. The judges suck. The justice system is weird. And the media couldn't give a crap about you, of course, unless it happened to them. And why does this matter? Well, if you don't think it matters longer term, I can't help you. There are judges out there that just let them out. Just let them out. Let them out. You have a guy running for mayor in New York City. Do you know what one of his platforms is? Releasing a lot of prisoners. Yes, let's have a platform of releasing criminals. Oh, and let's vote for him. What's his other platform? Oh, less police officers. That'll help. Just letting you know, everything I'm stating to you is fact, no opinion. This is exactly and actually what has been going on. It's an insane asylum, and a young Ukrainian woman is dead because of the insane asylum. And then the media stomps on her head after she's dead. Wasn't going to report it. What do they care about a young Ukrainian woman here? Unless the murderer fit their template. catching my drift? This matters to me. I have 2 sons that live in New York City. When I'm in New York City and I'm in the subway, I'm standing against the wall and looking left and right. Unless there's police officers, and the good news is there's a lot more in the subways. That shouldn't have to be. Up next, we'll put a bow tie on it. Hit the markets. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. So I just want you to remember all these things we're talking to you. This is about everything we do. It has everything to do with your jobs. I got news for you. How's your jobs if you live in places like Oakland? Or how about downtown Portland? I get a lot of emails from people in downtown Portland. The media really does suck. They could do such good. And by the way, we're not talking opinion people, we're talking the anchors. We know opinion people on the left and on the right are in the tank. We know that. We're talking when you have a guy, this Brian Stelter on CNN, that is supposed to be the fact checker, and instead of talking about a murder and how did it come about that this guy is out of jail, no, the people are bringing it up because they're racist. I'd like to sit down with him and have a talk to him. Don't think it would affect anything. Be worth a shot. Anyway, that was my take. How to bring that up. Next. Dow up 196, S&P 17, NASDAQ 80, NASDAQ 177. The advanced declines were not good today. It was kind of biggish today. Of note, in the Dow, between Goldman Sachs and United Health, 50 times 6, 300, 320 Dow points, with the Dow up 196. United Health, the story goes is that, as you know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, hedge funds bought a crap load, at least in the quarter before. They were losing their butt. It got announced, including Warren Buffett, sat around for 3 weeks. Today broke above that little range at the bottom. And it matters because United Health took 2,000 points off the Dow. Goldman Sachs was up 22 today, and that's because of J.P. Morgan was at a conference saying things are pretty good. And of course, they're the greatest bookies on earth, these banks. And whatever they do, they're great bookies. And by the way, that's not a put down. So the good day for J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and those. And just, I will tell you that weakness today in everything economic, but I'm not sweating it just yet. I'll let you know if there's trouble there. The job market is definitely weaker. Leave no doubt about that. Jobs are not as plentiful as they used to be. We'll see how that plays out. We are still very upset with this administration lying to you about they fired the head of the BLS and said it was rigged. That's a lie. We also need to mention that they're now complaining that to cover up for that all that BS. Well, things need to be fixed on how they do things. We've been telling you that for 20 years. What have we said on this show? How is it possible they can come up with the employment numbers with a sampling so small? That's what we always tell you. The other thing we have told you, our wonderful government over the last couple of decades has changed the formula. On inflation to make it lower than it really is, and change the formula on GDP to make it higher than it really is throughout the years. You can change these little formulas. Remember, the government, they don't have your best interest. You think they have your best interest? They change the formula and make all the numbers look better throughout the years. That's what they're very good at. That's the story there. But the market's acting swell. Yields have come down, though they were bounced up a little bit today. There's some weird things going on in the market. Oracle reported earnings. They missed numbers. A stock closed at 241. It's 278 in the aftermarket. That's the second big gap in a row for Oracle. On missed numbers, it's very weird. And in fact, on Oracle, earnings were up, let's see, 6%. That's it. 6 measly percent. They made some announcements, I think, having to do with maybe AI or stuff like that. I got to check that out. And just remember, for us, it's not the news, it's how things react to the news. But Oracle will not hurt the market tomorrow. It is a big name. And I'm just looking it all up to figure that out. Otherwise, I can complain about a few things in the market. I can tell you about what ain't. There's still plenty of areas troublesome. But overall, it be cool. Tomorrow's another day. There's a lot of moving parts going on. But as we have told you, stable oil prices, stable interest rates, or lower oil prices and lower interest rates fundamentally is a good thing. Fundamentally is a good thing, and you know that. If interest rates go down, cost of mortgages go down, cost of loans go down, cost of capital goes down. And if oil prices go down, well, you know what that means. And maybe you want to Google the words, how many products and what products are made with petroleum? That would just be another thing to look at. Major indices remain above moving averages. Transport's still weak. Ain't nothing going on there. Gold probably hit a near-term top today, but that's only after a real strong move after the 18-week range breakout. China better. Japan better. By the way, my wife and son are in Japan right now. I've been there once. This is my wife's second time and absolutely loves it there. It's a pretty cool place. By the way, if you've never been there, it's a visit. And I got to say it about China also. It was fantastic. Up next, what else to cover? I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Thanks for being with us today. By the way, we used to say, hope you don't mind we talking about other things, but I have to tell you, we don't say that anymore because dang, is this stuff important. You know, there's been talk for a while about easygoing judges on criminals, and never wanted to believe it. But man, it is out there in droves. Out there in droves. And what's interesting is this administration just put federal charges on this murderer, which is not normal, and maybe they're reaching. But man, I'm just a big believer. If you don't make crime pay, crime continues. And look what's going on in Washington, D.C. It is amazing to watch these other mayors mad at Trump for taking murders down to zero in Washington, D.C. because he put a presence there and made the criminals know you are screwed if you continue to do what you're doing. And if they don't like Trump and they think he's some sort of dictator and he's overreaching and stuff like that, instead of whining and complaining, maybe you want to do a bigger presence in your own city. I'm especially mentioning Chicago because the governor and the mayor of Chicago suck when it comes to their citizens. Sucks. They were talking about how crime's down from gargantuan levels. It's like the wild, wild west in certain areas there. And instead of complaining about Trump, hey, let's see. So Trump put this bigger presence into Washington, D.C., and crime has stopped. I have an idea. Let's copycat that. No, whine and complain that Trump's a dictator. And by the way, you know I'm no fan of Trump. I'm upset with a lot of things he's been doing. But I am a fan of other things he's been doing. It's like half and half. Anyway, we just think this is just so important. We really do. Imagine your community that you live in, city you live in, and imagine if you're scared to go out at night. Imagine if you're scared to walk the streets. There are cities out there in the United States of America, 2025. They're interviewing women in Oakland, and the women are saying, I won't let my kids out at night. What? It shouldn't be. And it all comes down to leadership. In Gary Kaltbaum, any city I'd be running, there'd be no crime. I would scare the living crap out of every criminal. I'd be tough. And it would be very simple. I tell them, just don't do crimes. Don't commit crimes, you're good. And that's it. Anyway, we're done with that for now. Few other of notes. Apple. So the stock has been acting better because Tim Cook kissed Trump's butt and made up this story that he's going to spend, I don't know, $1 trillion, and he's not. He's just appeasing the president, and the president gave him exemptions. Maybe Apple do a couple of things here and there and spend a little bit, but as soon as Trump's gone, they're going to stop. I'm a big believer in that. Anyway, so Apple announced new products today, and amazing, it just sold off. And I'm just thinking to myself, does all Apple have is the next watch and the next phone? And I'm hearing they're going to do a flip phone. Is that going to sell? And by the way, I've had Apple forever, and I finally, after about 4 years, got a new iPhone. And I don't know if it does anything different. Maybe it's a better camera. I don't know. But I just decided to get it. You know why? I was at the store. My wife was getting one. I said, okay, I'll get one too. Couldn't let her one-up me. Anyway, fantastic company, but I got a question. Oh, it's just the next phone. Oh, the next watch. And I'm trying to think, what else can they do next? And I'm not sure of that answer. They were going to do an auto. That ain't happening. That was like 15 years ago. Anyway, that's Apple. Next. Just a little note, and I think you're seeing it also. And as you know, when I go to the supermarket and stuff, I check things out. The bag of chips is so much smaller than it used to be at the same price. Actually, the price may be a little bit higher. The people that say there's no inflation are lying to you. There is. And when we get inflation numbers, I don't believe half of those. St. Regis, Chicago. I'm just mentioning this. It has nothing to do with St. Regis. Has nothing to do with whether it's Chicago. They are putting on a 3.5% inflation surcharge added to the bill. But you don't have to pay it. So in other words, If you see it on the bill and you don't want to pay it, you can just tell them they'll take it off. But they put it on first, and if you don't see it, you're screwed. Instead of saying, do you mind if we put it on? And they are not the last that is doing this. And they're not the first. There's a lot of companies now and a lot of establishments that are putting on these little additional inflation thingamabobs out there. Do you know, at this juncture, I only look for 2-for-1s at the supermarket, and I know which ones they do. Prices are up there. And I'm not seeing anything come down, just letting you know. The pepperonis, you know what pepperonis are? They're, dog treats. They are so much higher in price than a few years ago, I can't even begin to tell you. But I think once a month they have the 2-for-1, so I do that. I do the 2-for-1 Pepsi Zeros when it's out. I noticed they had 2-for-1 M&M bags. And then I looked at the M&M bags and realized they're like 50% higher. My wife get a certain type of coffee. I forgot the name of it. They used to go for $7.99 for a box of them. And they used to offer 2-for-1 at $7.99. They're now $12.99. And you get 2-for-1, you're back to the old price almost. There is a lot of that going on. Just letting you know. I don't think we're out of the woods yet on that, which has me a little worried about the president. As you know, he will be running the central bank. He's just going to put puppets in to run the central bank. And if he goes too far on the easy money, he will pull a Powell. You know what a Powell is? The reason we got 9% inflation because Powell printed to $9 trillion and took rates to zero and kept them there. Inflation is not a phenomenon of government spending, even though the right blame Biden. It is a central bank phenomenon of stupidity. Too much money created to chase nothing. So that worries me. So just letting you know, if you think we're out of the woods on inflation, at least from what I'm seeing, food inflation ain't dying so quickly. Now, there's other things that are better. You know where it's getting deflation? Housing. Housing soft. I can tell you that. Electric vehicles, soft, especially Teslas. Go look at what Tesla used car prices were like 18 months ago and where they are now. I think they're down like a bazillion percent. Yeah, you can't be a bazillion. Expensive watches have come way down. So there's some deflation out there. And there's some decent pricing. The big thing for me, let's hope oil prices just stay where they are or lower. Muy importante. Up next, this, that, and the other thing, or whatever else. I'm still trying to figure out Oracle. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Yeah. So my Giants sucked week 1. My fantasy football team, get this, going into last night, I was tied. Me and my buddy Randy each were tied, and we were coach of the week tied also. All I needed was 1 point to win. That's it. I had the tight end from Minnesota. He got no points. So I end up tied for the week. How depressing. But I do have a very good team, I do believe, this year. It will come down to injuries as usual. But I really do believe I have one heck of a team this year, and I don't say that every year. In fact, I complain most years. I picked up in the 7th round Zay Flowers, who was the number 1 receiver in the week 1 for Baltimore. And of course, I have Lamar Jackson also for Baltimore. That's just a scoring machine. And I got not Bijan. I got Jahmyr Gibbs, who didn't have a good week in Week 1, Detroit, but I'm not so worried about him. I should have taken Saquon, though. And that is our fantasy football whatchamadoogie for the day. I should have won. Oh, well. Let's see what else I wrote down. I think that's about it, what I wrote down. My big complaint was a little bit outside of the market today. It hits home when you see this. And when you just start reading about these judges, and you hear this guy was arrested 14 times and a bunch of them were violent offenses, and he got cashless bail. There was another murder I saw a week or two ago. Same thing. It should be so easy and so logical, too. So easy and so logical. Back on the economy. So the job market has weakened. I'm going to be watching it closely. If anything's going to cause a problem for the economy, it will be a weakening job market. And typically, a job market that trends down usually trends for a while. And you have to remember, I do believe the uncertainty of these tariffs are part of the equation. Maybe the AI and maybe just cyclicality, I don't know. But we're going to be watching, because we're always putting out questions to our peeps across the country. And a lot of we're getting people saying, no, business is good, business is fine. We're getting a lot of industries coming back to us talking about softness, the not needing new hires, and that's for starters, not needing new hires. That's besides getting rid of already employed. And how does that work? Well, you tell me. You're out of job. You got to go on unemployment. Have you ever seen what they pay you for unemployment? We always hear the story about how many people live paycheck to paycheck. Also about savings, how much light in savings people have. So what do you think happens when people are worried about their job, still have a job, or lose their job? You got it. And where will we see it? We'll see it in, listen carefully, airlines, cruise lines, Disney, retailers, economically sensitive, housing. Now, housing's been up because of interest rates. I don't think the housing business is in great stead. It's just the natural law of order in the markets when housing is up is because of interest rates, but then reality sets in. We're going to be watching these areas closely because the market is pretty darn good at flushing out trouble in the economy. We've told you this time and time again. That's why we have stated for so long that the people calling for the end of the world economy do not know what they are talking about at this juncture, because the market will crack first. 100% will crack first. And it's just not happened yet. I can tell you it was a bad day today, and I can tell you they hit the things you don't want to see hit today. It's just one day. But if we start to see protracted poor action and downtrends in those areas, we'll be talking. And we're not talking about one-offs. You know what's weak right now? Some restaurant chains. Not all, but some restaurants to be watched. Why? Because if all the restaurant stocks are heading lower, that's part of that list. Because what do people tend to do when they're worried about their wallets and their job? Honey, we're not going out to eat this weekend. That's how it works. It's all about decisions and choices. And there's also talk about the wealthy versus the non-wealthy. I got news for you. One of the weakest stocks in the market right now is LVMH. This is that huge luxury goods company involved in champagne and leather goods and all kinds of crap. So don't think that they're going to get away with it. Again, these are the things we're going to be watching. That all said, have a great evening, drive carefully. And when you get home, do like we do, quite simple. Make sure you hug the family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well, be well. Thanks for joining. Peace out, all. Good night.